Now, you were telling me, this is kind of interesting, of course you are a soul, you're eternal. Jane Hart is eternal being, that you have somehow tapped into even 13 past lives. How did that happen?
Now, how long do we have?
Okay, go for it.
Actually, what happened was I mentioned that my friend and I started meditating together. And one day when we were meditating, we got into this great white light, and we didn't know what was happening to us. We were kind of lifted up into this energy, and when we were in that energy, we got a message. And because we didn't want to influence each other, we said, okay, you write down your message and I'll write down my message, and then we'll just look at each other's messages at the same time. Well, the message was, the veil will be lifted. And we both got the exact same message, the veil will be lifted.
Wow.
And we didn't know what that meant. We didn't even understand it at the time. And we started going around to different places and saying, you know, what is this, to different ministers, and nobody could really give us the answer. But then what happened was, one day, after about 3 weeks, my friend called me up and said, I had this experience, and I felt like I was so happy that you were in my life.
Wow.
And I felt almost like, oh, thank you for coming back into my life. And she said it was a very strange experience. I said, well, I'm coming over to your house in an hour or so, so we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, when I arrived, she just looked at me and she said, oh my gosh, and she put her arms around me. She said, thank you for coming back to me.
Yeah.
And we were kind of like awestruck. We couldn't figure out what was going on with us.
Yeah.
And she started telling me about this past life that she had with me.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of realizing the veil between the conscious and the subconscious had been lifted. And through that experience, after many years, say about 8 years, I had experienced 13 lives, which made up the life that I was living right now, and why I was living the life I was living right now.
Yeah.
And also that happened for her also. And we found out we were practically in every lifetime with each other. And we'd been married, and we'd been friends, and we'd been brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers, and all these different experiences that we had had.
Truly a soul sister, like
That's
a soulmate.
right, soulmate.
Yeah.
And
even, you know, one of our famous local boys, one of the most famous believers in reincarnation was Henry Ford.
oh my.
And Henry Ford, one time, he said to the San Francisco Examiner in 1928 that he had adopted the philosophy of reincarnation as a 26-year-old.
Really?
And he said, his famous quote was, "Genius is simply experience."
Aha.
That, you know, why is a
Yes.
Mozart able to compose sonatas and concertos at 4 and 8 many lives?
That's right.
He's done the music,
That's right.
you know. So I think we are a composite. All of our tendencies and our family members, friends, we're all coming back.
Together.
Yeah.
And we keep coming back together in different parts, we play different parts in each other's lives. And I think it's wonderful to understand that what I'm doing right now could be creating my next life.
Yes.
And the things that I desire, and I have a great desire to support this universe in spiritual understanding.
Yeah.
I feel that we are souls evolving, and it's very important for us to be thinking about our future.
Yes.
And what's the future going to be bringing to us, and how are we going to be supporting each other in the future and the evolution of our understandings, because we're multidimensional.